Hey, Pretty Girl Club. Welcome back to the privilege stacking series. And today I want to talk about thin privilege. I'm going to be telling a lot of little miniature story times about examples of thin privilege, kind of what it is, how you know if you have it, and how I have even given someone else thin privilege before. So when I use that phrase thin privilege, I think there's a difference between being fat, being thin, and then having thin privilege. So let me explain it to you. I consider thin privilege to be anywhere from probably like a size 6 and below, because at that point you are literally within like model sizing. I believe that about a size probably 8 to 12 is like average size or normal. You're still uh pretty normal looking depending on your height, especially if you're tall. And then I would say once you're above a size 12, generally speaking, that's when you're pretty much going to be considered fat, no matter what scenario you're in. So, for reference, I am tall, I'm 5'9", and I have thin privilege. So, one of the ways that I noticed that I had thin privilege is because people compliment me on my body, like, they compliment me on my actual fitness. So for example, I have had people say that they wanna go walking with me the next time I go on a walk, or, like, if I go on a hike, they wanna do that. If I run, like, a 5K or something, just anything that I'm doing in terms of fitness, I notice that people will start trying to copy me, and that's because they want their body to look like mine. So for some of you guys, maybe you've experienced this like in the gym. I've noticed that I've had girls try to copy me whenever I'm doing squats. So I've had random girls, I can tell that they want their butt to look like how my butt looks, or they want their shape to look like mine, because I've been in the gym before lifting weights or doing my little squats and stuff, and I've seen girls like kind of looking back at me, kind of staring at me, and then 5 minutes later, once I'm done with my sets, then I see them going and doing the exact same exercise as me. And I know that they're copying it because I'm literally making up exercises as I go. I've done really random exercises that are not popular. So that's how I know that it's a form of privilege, because they're putting you on the pedestal. You are their standard of thin beauty. Another sign of having thin privilege is I have had people try to copy my diet, or they will even ask me for tips. They'll ask me for dieting tips. I am not a dieting expert, but I've noticed that just a part of thin privilege is that you are the authority. A lot of people give you more authority, they give you more social power when it comes to talking about how to be skinny. And so I've had people randomly ask me for diet tips. I've even had people at work. Well, I had one woman in particular at work. She literally tried to copy my diet. She tried to copy my grocery shopping habits, and she tried to copy my diet. But that's because I have thin privilege. She wanted her body to look like mine. So she was assuming that if she just eats the same things as me, or if she just eats at the same time as me or something, then hopefully her body can look like mine. That's a form of thin privilege, because if I wanted to be known as like kind of the fitness guru of my friend group, or if I wanted to add that to my arsenal of personality traits, I really could. I could make that a part of my personality if I wanted to. Um, I've noticed a lot of people, they'll be like, "Oh, you shouldn't make being thin a part of your personality. You shouldn't make your beauty a part of your personality." Well, it's going to be a part of your personality whether you like it or not. Your personality is your personal reality. So, how you look affects your personal reality. How you look affects how others treat you. And so, the reason I talk about privilege and privilege stacking is because I really do believe that everybody has some form of privilege. And thankfully, some privileges can be earned or attained. And I think that thin privilege is one of those things. So another thing I've noticed about thin privilege is my pretty privilege. It really adds a lot to my pretty privilege, because generally speaking, I don't really believe in a universal standard of beauty. I don't think there's one person who's like the most beautiful person in the world. I think that beauty standards change depending on your environment. But generally speaking, thin privilege, it's very popular to be thin. I would just say that if you care about pretty privilege, if you're thin, you're going to have pretty privilege in more spaces versus if you're like obese or something like that. So that's another question that you can ask yourself too in terms of pretty privilege. You can ask yourself, okay, what kind of pretty privilege do I want? Where do I want my pretty privilege to work? At the bar, at the airport, on a dating app, on social media, on Instagram? I've just noticed that for me, having thin privilege, it just causes my pretty privilege journey to be very smooth. So it's not like, oh, okay, my body type is celebrated in this space, but then in this other space, my body type is overlooked. I don't have that problem as a person who has thin privilege. And then when I was like fat, I consider a size 12 to be fat. That's just my personal standard. I know you're going to get all riled up in the comments. But this is because I come from kind of a Y2K era. I don't come from an African American cultural background in terms of my body and beauty standard. And so I considered myself to be fat when I was a size 12. That was me at my very biggest. It was during COVID times. And for reference, my body type, it looked very similar to Meg the Stallion. So I know Meg the Stallion, she's considered normal in the African American community, but I was not around the African American community. I didn't grow up in that type of background. So when I was that size, like what Meg the Stallion is right now, I felt like I was fat. So I noticed that when I did not have thin privilege, when I was just like regular, I guess, I felt like there were certain scenarios where my body type or my body shape was kind of overlooked in terms of like my outfits. So having thin privilege, I noticed that I get a lot of compliments on my outfits. And by the way, another thing I've noticed is that my body is naturally, it wants to stay thin. So I am a combination of, I think it's called ectomorph and mesomorph. I'm not an endomorph. Endomorph, that body type is the one where it's like they eat carbs or like you can't eat carbs because you gain weight. So I'm a combination of the skinny body type with the fast metabolism and then the one that's in the middle, kind of like the hourglass metabolism. So I think it's ectomorph and mesomorph. Anyway, if I had to compare being thin versus when I was average size, yeah, I just noticed that when I was like Meg the Stallion's body type, I felt like I was obese. I mean, I felt horrible, but I did notice that I still did get pretty privileged when I went to Texas. So when I was in the South, I noticed that nobody, I was actually considered normal or even small when I went to the South versus like in my hometown or versus like going to other cities. So that's a thing that happens when you don't have thin privilege. I noticed that your body shape and your size and kind of like your outfits and all that stuff, it's only celebrated in certain spaces versus going back to my normal self, which is having thin privilege. I've noticed that my pretty privilege, it just works universally now. Another part of my thin privilege is I have so much more energy. Like, it feels so good for my body to not be constantly digesting food. It feels really good to just be able to eat, like, I don't know, maybe some Greek yogurt with some berries or something like that. I've been trying out Greek yogurt lately. When I go home, because I'm out of town right now, when I go home, I'm probably gonna like um meal prep some overnight oats or something. So I don't know. I guess I just feel like a part of thin privilege is not having to stress as much about food. So, like yesterday, I binged on a bunch of Asian food. I had kimchi, I had fries, I had spicy wings, I had regular fried chicken wings. I had so many different foods yesterday, but I am not stressed out like, "Oh shit, now I can't even like move. Oh my god, I can't fit in my jeans." No, because that's a part of thin privilege. You can eat what you want. Nobody judges you, first of all. And I just feel like you have a longer way to go before you become overweight. But if you're already not thin, or if you're already teetering on being fat, which I believe a size 12 is kind of teetering, depending on your height. I'm tall, so on me, it didn't really look bad. Um, but but I would say if you're teetering on fat, when you eat, it can actually be stressful. Or at least that's a difference I noticed. Like for me, it was actually stressful in the past because I'd be like, oh my God, I have to go run 5 miles now. But now I'm just like, "Oh, I can take a rest day if I want to, or I can just chill out." And another part of thin privilege is I notice that I become more protective over my body because I enjoy the privilege that comes with being thin. I love waking up and being able to see the outline of my abs. Like I can see that the little washboard now. Um, so I feel good looking in the mirror and knowing that that's how I look. It feels good. It's basically like a positive feedback loop every time you look in the mirror. That's a part of thin privilege. You look at your legs and there's no cellulite. You look at your thighs and your thighs are toned. You look at your arms, you don't have the bat wings or anything like that. So there are a lot of micro insecurities that actually go away once you have thin privilege. And that's why I say there's a difference between being thin, kind of teetering or fighting to stay thin, and then being fat versus thin privilege, meaning like, no, you're thin, thin, like you're skinny, skinny, like you're 5'9" and a size 6. That's like skinny, skinny. Like you can wear a strapless. That actually leads me to my next point. I can wear whatever I want. So I can wear a strapless shirt. I don't have to worry about like my boobs falling out of the shirt. My arms are hanging out of the shirt. Bra strap fat. So that's what I mean when I say like micro insecurities. I can wear whatever shirt I want. I can wear backless, a halter, some short shorts if I want to. So I feel like thin privilege gives me more options in terms of fashion. So when I did not have thin privilege, when I was just fighting to stay thin, I felt like a part of my wardrobe was me trying to cover up the problem areas. So trying to cover up the booty a little bit and trying to cover up the cleavage a little bit. Trying to cover up the bra strap area a little bit, trying to make sure that I didn't have any love handles or anything, even if they were small, trying to make sure that I didn't have like super extreme I don't know, hip dips or whatever. So a lot of my wardrobe before, it was more so focused on covering. And so I didn't get to express myself as much in terms of fashion versus going back to being super skinny again. Now I can wear whatever I want. I can wear a strapless bra tomorrow and just walk down the street and I won't really feel like, "Oh my god, everybody's staring at me," or I'm jiggling. That was another insecurity I used to have when I was less thin. It was jiggling. I would feel like, "Oh my god, when I walk, my butt is kinda jiggling or my boobies are kinda jiggling," or like, I don't want all this jiggliness. I don't wanna be Jigglypuff. So that's another micro insecurity that leaves once you cross over into thin privilege. And when I think about privilege, I think of it as a spectrum. So this is very similar to how I talked about femininity versus femininity privilege. So you're automatically feminine if you're born a woman, right? Obviously, you have inherent femininity because you're a woman, but there's a difference between being a woman and then having feminine privilege, which means other people treat you like you have that privilege. Other people put you on a pedestal because of your particular femininity. So thin privilege is the same way. That's why I said even if you are thin, you may not still have thin privilege. Maybe you're just not fat. Maybe you're just kind of fighting to stay thin. But I consider thin privilege to mean you don't have certain insecurities. You can kind of wear whatever you want. Your body pretty much looks good. Even when I'm taking photos, like if I take Instagram photos or if I'm doing like a little story or something like that, I don't have to look at myself from certain angles. So when I was not taking care of my body as much, I'd be like, oh crap, I can't look at myself from a certain angle. Or if I smile, oh, it looks like there's a little bit of a puffiness or a swollen area, like in my chin or like in my face. I didn't like how my neck and like when I would eat salt, I felt like I would look more swollen and more bloated. That's another aspect of thin privilege. I noticed that I don't have to worry about bloating as much. Even if I just ate a meal, I can still put on a bikini and go to the beach and feel normal. I don't feel how I used to feel where it was like, "Oh no, I can't wear a bikini. I need to like cover up. I need to wear some shorts or something." Like we got to buy a certain swimsuit to cover the upper part of the stomach to try to hide a little bit of this bloating that's going on. I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff anymore because a part of thin privilege is you can wear whatever you want Even if you just ate, you still look skinny? Even if your face is swollen? Like now, when my face is swollen, I still look skinny when I take pictures. I can do whatever poses. And by the way, none of this is like bragging. I'm just trying to describe what thin privilege is and hopefully it like motivates you. Another aspect of thin privilege is people will compliment me more on my outfits. I have the same exact face, same exact body shape, same exact style that I had when I was not as in shape. But now, when I wear the same clothes or the same type of aesthetic, I get so many compliments, like literally, I won't say every day. That's kind of an exaggeration. I don't even go out every day, but I mean, pretty much every time I go out, somebody is complimenting my outfit. Somebody is complimenting me saying, "Oh, you look so cute. You look so pretty." Just more compliments in general. That's another aspect of thin privilege. More compliments in general. I noticed that I just look better in my outfits in general. Like my body, the way that my boobs sit in the corset is like better. Things don't look as smushed. Have you ever put on jeans or shorts or something and it's kind of too tight, so you kind of look smushed in it? I don't have a smushed appearance. I get more compliments on my outfits and I get more compliments on my fashion sense. Another thing I've noticed is that I'm more excited to go out. I just want to go out more in general. Like when I was slipping in terms of my body, when I was not taking care of myself, I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to be seen in public. I didn't want to take pictures. But a part of having thin privilege is I'm ready to go out because no matter what clothes I wear, it's going to look cute. I can wear a leggings and a little spaghetti strap shirt with no bra and it's gonna look cute. It's gonna look like a model. Like, if I put on a spaghetti strap shirt, I actually tried this before and I talked about it in the Patreon. Be sure to join the Patreon if you haven't. I do a lot of social experiments in there. You'll get access to the Discord. It's only $5 per month. Nobody has a Patreon like mine. There are over 100 additional pieces of content in there. But anyway, I actually tried this out before. I wore a spaghetti strapped braless top. You know those tops where it's like it has a built-in bra. So I wore one of those from Old Navy. I wore some basic black leggings and I put on these little high heel sandals and I went to the grocery store. So this was literally the most basic outfit you could think of. Leggings and a spaghetti strap shirt. And because I put on a little bit of heels, like these little short heels, I literally got so many compliments in the grocery store and people were like talking to me. Guys were like breaking their neck in the grocery line to look at me. Like one guy, he was breaking his neck. He was looking at my groceries. He's like, "Oh, you eat so healthy." And that goes back to the thin privilege thing. Like I've actually had multiple men in grocery stores. This is a pickup artist tactic, though. A lot of guys they try to hit on us in grocery stores. If you know, you know. All of the exoticals, we know this. But I have noticed though, a part of thin privilege too is whenever I go into an expensive, healthy store, or if I go into an expensive space in general, I fit right in and I get a lot of compliments. So when I was at one of these specialty stores, I remember I was pushing around my cart. I had my watermelon in there, I had my blueberries and my blackberries in there, I had my strawberries. I'm probably gonna make some strawberry overnight oats. But anyway, so like when I get home, that's what I'm gonna make. But anyway, so I had my stuff, and this one guy, he was a black guy. He comes around the corner. I was in the supplement aisle because I was just looking at the different vitamins. I am obsessed with vitamins, by the way. Is anybody else here obsessed with vitamins? What is your favorite vitamin? Let me know in the comment section because I need to like I need to stock up. I've tried Primrose. I love trying new vitamins just in general and like herbal remedies. So anyway, I was in the supplement aisle with my leggings and my little shirt and my little teeny tiny heels, my tiny sandals. And this guy, he's like, "Oh wow, look at you. You eat healthy." And I'm just like, "Oh yeah." He was like, "Wow, look at your cart. Like I can't be that healthy." So I've noticed that when you have thin privilege versus just being thin, like a regular thin, um, people will stop you and they will actually compliment your body. They will compliment your physique. Like if you have a six pack, for example, people will definitely notice that. People will definitely compliment that. Men, women, old people, young people. So you're getting a lot more micro validation in terms of your body image. So another time I was standing in the line, I was wearing that exact same outfit, the basic leggings and the basic top with the little teeny tiny sandal with a small heel on it. I just feel like I look very expensive. This is why I say that like I just enjoy being very, very skinny. And so even though I was already a size 6, right now I'm probably between maybe a 4 and a 6 at this point. So when I first started this channel, I was a 6, but now I've lost an additional 15 pounds. So that's why I say I'm probably between a 4 and a 6 now. I'm trying to go back to a 0, but I've just noticed I look very expensive. Just everything I wear, it looks more dressed up naturally. It looks exactly like the photos and it looks exactly like the mannequin. So I feel like I'm a walking mannequin. Like that's one of the biggest parts of thin privilege that is so underestimated. I love feeling like I am a walking mannequin, like I am a tall, statuesque person, and like I can look at something in the mall and I know that that clothing item, it's going to look like that on me. Because one of the biggest frustrations before was it might look good on the hanger, it might look good on the statue, but it doesn't look as good on me. But when you have thin privilege, it does look just as good on you. So that halter top, it looks exactly like that on you. It looks just as cute on you as it does on the Pinterest photo. So all these people and another thing, I've noticed that thin privilege in particular, it helps me in terms of confidence overall because I don't feel the need to prove myself. So I noticed like some people they try to say that I sound fat or something. That's actually pretty hilarious. No, but they say that my voice sounds like I'm fat. And it's also because I've used voice changers on here before. Like when I first started, I was trying to practice my editing and I did a bad job. But and anyway, I'm not taking down those videos because those are good videos. But but there are many different reasons why a person's voice can sound the way it sounds. Like sometimes your voice sounds different when you wake up in the morning or if it's late at night or depending on how much water you've had. If you're a vocalist, if you're a singer, then your voice actually gets deeper the greater your vocal range becomes for a lot of people. Like if you haven't noticed, Beyonce's voice is deep, Mariah Carey's voice is deep. So it kind of depends on how you train your voice. It depends on a lot of different factors. But anyway, another aspect of thin privilege is I don't feel the need to prove myself because my confidence is even higher because that is yet another privilege that I get to stack in my favor. So even if people troll me online, I'm just like, "Oh, whatever. I'll just let them think I'm like 500 pounds. That's fine." Okay, sorry, I just had to pause it for a second. But another thing that I've noticed about thin privilege is it makes it really difficult for people to say that you're ugly. Like, it makes it difficult for people to say you're not pretty because your body is pretty. Like, if you have washboard abs, toned legs, toned arms, a slim face, I mean, it's very difficult for people to try to tell you that you are below average in terms of looks, for example. So I would say that is another benefit as well. I just feel like there are a lot of micro insecurities that fall off. And so it kind of frees up your mind so you can start thinking about other goals that you have for yourself. So I noticed that ever since I passed a certain threshold with my thin privilege, because I consider, like, being below a size 6, I would say that's definitely, like, you have thin privilege at that point. Size 6 and below, like, it's pretty rare to be that size, but I noticed for me, once I got smaller, like, even smaller, then I started just thinking about my financial goals or, like, I don't know, just other random goals because it freed up a lot of space in my mind. So a lot of people don't realize how much their insecurities are kind of clouding their thoughts. They don't realize how much their insecurities are clouding their judgment and stuff. And another thing about thin privilege is it helps me to save money because I don't even eat like I used to eat. I talked about this recently. Over the past month, since I got even smaller and my appetite is just gone basically, I don't even spend as much money on food in general. So I went to a pizza place a few days ago. Normally, I could eat a personal pizza. I can eat that in one sitting usually, or I used to be able to do that. It took me 3 days to eat that pizza because I just wasn't interested. I got this really big personal pan pizza, if you know what mod pizza is. So I got mod pizza and I usually get like extra cheese, extra vegetables, extra pepperoni, like all these extra toppings to the point where it's like a mountain. So now when I got my mod pizza, one slice, it was so filling to the point where I was like, "Oh my god, I can't eat anymore because it had so much oil and my stomach was like, "What the fuck is this?" So, yeah, it took me a few days to actually eat that pizza. And so I would say that another side effect of thin privilege is that it helps you to attain other privileges. Another thing that I really love is that I save money on clothes. If I can look expensive and get the exact treatment that I want or be perceived how I want to be perceived with something as simple as leggings and an old Navy spaghetti strap shirt, what do I need to go to the store for? Like, why do I need to buy new clothes? I don't. Because at this point, my shoes are what's dressing me up, and that's it. Just wearing certain shoes or maybe doing certain makeup or putting on a little bit of jewelry, I just noticed that I look and feel more put together in general, and people treat me as if I'm put together, if that makes sense. So, for example, when my coworker, the one who was obese, when she would wear professional clothes, it looked sloppy. But when I would wear the same exact type of outfit, it looked super professional. And I think it has to do with just how people perceive you. They perceive a slim woman in a suit as being more professional than a 300-pound woman in a suit. Because a lot of people have subliminal biases against you if you're obese. A lot of people will stereotype you as like not being disciplined, or they'll stereotype you as like just not being good at achieving your goals. Because think about it, being skinny is a goal that pretty much everybody wants. I mean, pretty much everybody wants to be at a healthy weight or they care about being thin. I would hope so. I hope that you care about being at a healthy weight. So, yeah, I definitely feel like there is an aspect of being carefree that comes with thin privilege as well. Another thing that I noticed is I have way more energy to work out. So, the lighter I get, I think it's just because my body is lighter. So when I'm doing push-ups, for example, I'm lifting less weight. When I am running, I'm running with less weight on my body. There's less fat jiggling and like holding me back and stuff. So I noticed that I was able to just do a 10-mile hike the other day just with no problem. Usually, if I do a 10-mile hike, I'm going to be tired. I probably wouldn't be able to do anything the next day but I was able to do it and it was fine. So I've just noticed that I am more able-bodied as well. Like walking up the stairs, I'm not huffing and puffing when I'm walking up the stairs. I can just walk up 3 flights of stairs. Like, I don't care if the elevator is taking a long time, I can just go up the stairs like it's no problem. Another aspect of thin privilege is it shows off your bone structure. So, if you have really pretty, like, high cheekbones, it just shows off your features more because your face, it's not crushed in by a bunch of fat. Your face is not covered up by a whole bunch of fat. So you can really see all of your facial features. You can see the bones, you can see how full your lips actually are. I noticed that like it makes you look even younger. So if you already, I mean, I already look young, but it makes me look even younger now, I've noticed. So that's another aspect that I like about thin privilege. Something else is that shopping is exciting. So getting new bikinis, that's exciting. Like I can't wait to get some new bikinis for when I go with my family to Dominican Republic. That's going to be so much fun. Um yeah, I don't know, just stuff like that. Just small things. It just makes my life easier, I guess. Basically, when you have thin privilege, people look to you as their standard. You are their body goals. You are their diet goals. You are their ab goals or their leg goals. Like if your legs are super toned. Um, so I've noticed that, like, for example, if somebody is fat, I unfortunately, I've dealt with guys who have been, like, very problematic in the past, but I remember one time this is when I was, like, struggling to, like, stay thin, so I wouldn't consider that having thin privilege. I was probably, like, a size 8. So a size 8, that's definitely not fat at all, like, that's not overweight, but it's also not super skinny. I remember one time I ate a cookie, and my ex at the time, he's like, "Oh, you're gonna get fat if you keep eating like that." So I've just noticed that if you don't have thin privilege, then people are more likely to, I would say people, they almost start warning you like, "Hey, be careful with all those carbs." Like they may start warning you that you're going to gain weight versus if you're super skinny, you could eat like 5 slices of pizza. People will be like, "Oh my god, you ate 5 slices of pizza. I wish I could be like you. I wish I could eat that much pizza and stay skinny." Like people, their reaction to your diet is different, or some people will start hating on you and then they'll say like you're too skinny. Like if you don't eat as much anymore, if you don't eat a lot like how you used to, people might be like, "Oh, you look like you're starving yourself." Like I know I've been told I look like a starving Ethiopian. I have no abs. I eat like a rabbit. I eat like a mouse. I look like a mouse. I look like a deer. I look like Bambi. But I know that people are saying that out of jealousy, though. Another random thing about thin privilege is jewelry, like super cheap jewelry. It fits perfectly fine. Like, I don't have to worry about bracelets, certain bracelets not fitting, especially because I shop at a lot of cheap Asian brands. So I don't have to worry about like bracelets not fitting me, anklets not fitting me, rings not fitting me, or chokers, those little chokers and stuff, those not fitting me, necklaces not sitting on my chest exactly where I want them to sit, just random stuff like that. I don't have to really worry about that. Another thing I enjoy about thin privilege is the social power. So if I'm feeling bitchy, if somebody wants to try me, I might think to myself, well, I mean, she's fat and built like a refrigerator, and I mean, I have washboard abs, so, so I'm just being 100% honest, like, it really is, like, this silent flex to where I don't even have to say anything, I don't have to make fun of anybody, I don't even have to prove myself because I'm already thinking to myself, "Well, of course she's jealous of me, like, of course she's mad." I'm just being honest in terms of body. Like, that is a part of thin privilege. You might find yourself just feeling more unbothered when people try to talk shit about your body versus if you have insecurities about your body. Some other random aspects of thin privilege. Oh, I was going to say in terms of costumes, like if you do cosplaying, Halloween costumes, just buying costumes and stuff. When I was less toned, it used to be kind of stressful sometimes trying to find different, Halloween costumes because 'cause I'd be like, "Oh, this doesn't look like how I thought it was gonna look," or, "This didn't turn out like how I thought it would." "Oh, it's showing that part of my body. I wanna cover that up." So I don't have to worry about that. So I've noticed that I'm even more excited to wear costumes and kind of, like, express myself and go for more eclectic looks. I've just noticed that once I attained thin privilege to where it's like I'm super skinny, skinny, like I'm skinny, skinny. Before I was thin and slim, like size 6, that's good. But now it's like, oh no, I'm skinny, skinny. I've noticed that I'm even more excited about taking risks in terms of fashion because I don't have to worry as much about wardrobe malfunctions, like stuff rolling up at the waist or, like your pants are riding up or it starts like wearing out between the legs. Have you ever got holes in your leggings? Like, that has happened to me before. That literally happened to me when I was, like, fat or thick, whatever you wanna call it. When I was well, it really wasn't thick. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, I got a hole in my leggings before, so just not having to worry about wardrobe malfunctions, it's like a weight off your shoulders. Another aspect of thin privilege is I get to be a snob. This is yet another area where if I want to be a snob, I can. If I want to turn my nose up at somebody behind their back who's eating an entire thing of pizza, I can turn my nose up at them if I want to. You know how Fanita, how she like did all that weight loss? I consider Fanita to be I consider her to be fat. I'm sorry, I'm just being honest. Fanita right now, that was like me at my biggest. I didn't know Fanita was considered skinny. I thought she was still considered big. And I'm not saying it to like be shady. I'm just saying like her size that she is now, that was like how I was when I considered myself to be fat. So I think it's just a cultural difference and there's nothing wrong with that. And by the way, any size or shape, you can still be beautiful and have pretty privilege. So whatever. But if I want to turn my nose up at other people, uh, I can. If I want to turn my nose up and think to myself, oh shit, she just ate 5,000 calories. She's going to wake up tomorrow and be like 3 pounds heavier. If I want to think like that, I really can. And I don't feel bad or guilty. Oh, that's another aspect of thin privilege. I don't feel guilty about eating whatever I want because I just eat the same stuff but in smaller quantities. So in the last 2 weeks, I have had fried catfish, hush puppies, I've had boudin, I've had um pizza, I've had fried chicken wings, sweet and spicy wings, kimchi. Like I've had so many varieties of different like unhealthy foods, but the difference is I just eat like a bite instead of having like an entire serving or like 5 different servings. Another thing I've noticed is you gain a lot of skills. So I really feel like I have gained so many skills once I finally passed this plateau of a size 6 that I've been at for years now. Because I was kind of at a plateau, kind of maintaining it. I was trying to like become even more and more and more skinny, but I noticed I was at a plateau. But what helped me to pass the plateau was just basically kind of changing my mindset, changing my portion sizes, changing the timing of when I eat, kind of becoming like this calorie calculator, but not in an obsessive way. But I don't know, just kind of lightly tracking what I eat, just lightly tracking calories, lightly being mindful of how many calories are in a piece of fried chicken, for example, how many calories are in a slice of cake. Just basic stuff like that, as opposed to mindlessly eating while I'm watching TV after a workout. So I've actually gained a lot of skills. I feel like you gain skills once you learn how to lose weight or get to your goal weight or get to your goal body. It takes a lot of skill to even get there, and it takes a lot of discipline to get there. And so now I'm on my discipline kick. And so I've started reading an entire audiobook about discipline. I just feel like I gained a lot of internal skills like emotional regulation, kind of going on this fitness journey. Well, it was more of a diet journey, just kind of changing my diet without going on an official diet or anything. That's what I've been doing. It really helped me with my discipline and my emotional regulation. So that's another side effect of thin privilege. If you went from being average size to having thin privilege to where you have the abs, your boobies are perky, your butt is perky and everything, it took you discipline and scheduling and time management and organizational skills and knowing how to cook. Like now, I've noticed that now I actually want to get back into cooking again. I never thought that I would get back into cooking. I used to do baking and stuff when I was younger. In my 20s, I used to bake. I baked like I've made strawberry cookies before with like chocolate in them. I've made truffles before. I've made 3-layer brownies before. Pretty much anything you can think of, I have baked it. So I used to do a lot of baking and cooking when I was in my early 20s, and I noticed that I was also the most interested in cooking in my early 20s when I was super skinny, like how I am again finally after 10 years. But that's another thing. Like once you attain thin privilege, you might notice that your mind is freed up because you've healed your relationship with food. I noticed for me personally, that is something that happened recently. So I didn't have a bad relationship with food because, like I said, I wasn't fat or anything. But I just feel like a part of thin privilege is not only did I heal my relationship with food, but I began disciplining myself and basically studying behind the scenes how many calories are in each food, how long does it take your body to digest certain foods? what time should you eat one specific food compared to another food. Um, so I gained a lot of nutritional advice, and that is what caused me to drop an additional about 15 pounds. And I wasn't even trying, like, I didn't have a goal because I really try to be careful and make sure that I'm not having an eating disorder or anything like that. But I didn't have a body goal because, like I said, I was already thin, I was already skinny. I was just working on my mindset basically. So a side effect of the thin privilege, or kind of pursuing the thin privilege, by default, I ended up gaining discipline privilege. And so now my next goal is I'll probably use the discipline privilege to do some stuff financially, whether it's like investing in a property or, just random stuff like that. Another thing that helped me to attain thin privilege is realizing that there's always tomorrow. So, one mistake that I used to make, and I feel like this is what kept me plateaued at a size 6, a mistake that I would make is I would go running or I would go on a hike, I'd go to the gym, then I would come home and I would be like, "Oh, I worked out today, so like I can eat a 6-piece chicken wing meal. Like I can eat a bunch of pizza." So I noticed that I was only disciplined in one area. I was disciplined with my workouts, but I wasn't as disciplined with my food. So that's what kept me plateaued at like a size medium or like a size 6. That's what kept me plateaued for so many years, was only having the one-sided discipline versus now I feel like I'm at the stage in my fitness journey where I can just carve my body how I want it to be carved, because I'm no longer thinking about the slimness of my body at all. Now I'm thinking, okay, do I like the size of my boobs? Do I want to build them up? Do I want to slim them down? Do I like the size of my butt? Do I want to build it or slim it? Are there any areas where I want to build muscle? So now I get to work on that part, kind of fine tuning. But I noticed before, part of what made me plateau was not being disciplined with the diet, because unfortunately it took me 32 years to learn it, but they were right. You cannot outrun a bad diet. And also, I noticed that I used to have a bad relationship with diets and dieting. I don't believe in dieting, first of all. But also, what I used to do was I used to try to like quit eating certain foods. And I used to think of certain foods as good and bad. And so once I stopped that mindset over the past month or so, not only can I eat whatever I want, but I was still able to like maintain my fitness goals, because instead of me beating myself up like, "Oh, I ate the 6-piece chicken wings." No, you can still eat the chicken wings, just eat 3 chicken wings, or just eat, like you can stretch it out. You can make your 6-piece chicken wing meal, just eat it for 2 meals. So you eat half of it today and then you can eat the other half tomorrow, because you're technically cutting the calories still if you care about like cutting calories. And also, becoming knowledgeable about calories and how many calories are in each specific food, that really helped me as well. And also, I stopped thinking of food as a reward. Food is not a reward. Food is not my comfort. Food is not something that I should just get when I'm bored. Food is supposed to be fuel. It's supposed to be fueling my body. It's supposed to be helping my body to function in a positive way. That's it. It's supposed to be helping my organs and stuff to function properly. Now, if you really care about food tasting good, okay, good. Go get the 6-piece chicken wing and just taste it then. Just eat one bite or eat 2 wings. You don't have to binge the entire thing. Because another thing that I have been practicing lately, just as a part of my pretty girl routine, is portion sizes, portion control. So, one serving size for you is about the size of the palm of your hand. That's the rule that I've been going by. And also, recognizing that there's a time delay between your stomach being full and your brain saying that you're full. So, I noticed that I used to eat really fast, and that's another thing that caused me to plateau at a size 6. Was I would work out a lot, but I would eat a lot and then I would eat really fast. And so I'm not enjoying the food, but I'm also eating more food because I'm not like listening to my body. I wasn't sitting there like, okay, is my stomach full? Am I still just as hungry as I was 5 minutes ago? How is my body feeling? So it was also like listening to my body too. That's what helped me to overcome the plateau and to kind of like de-bloat myself, kind of de-bloat my stomach. So now you can see kind of the washboard thing going on. Anyway, what do you ladies think? Do you have thin privilege? Are you pursuing thin privilege? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.